Hi, everybody, and welcome to tonight's webinar, Educational Fusion, CS Teaching Adventures with AI. And I would like to start off by first giving credit to ChatGPT for helping me come up with the name of tonight's webinar. I actually had the name CS Teaching Adventures with AI, and I thought it was awesome. But then I copied that into ChatGPT, and I said, hey, can you make this sound friendlier and more engaging? And it came up with this title. So, right there is a good place to start because that's what we're going to talk about tonight. In tonight's webinar, we're going to talk about AI, ChatGPT, computer science education, how it's all coming together towards the end of this first year where in computer science principles, students were allowed to use AI for the create performance task. We're going to have a discussion about the proper uses of AI because what it really gets down to is AI, ChatGPT, all these programs are going to be allowed to be used for CS education. So as teachers, what we need to do is really model the proper uses of this technology. And like anything else, if we model correctly for our students, most of them will use it the way it's intended. So that is the purpose of tonight's webinar. So let's get started. So for you who don't know me, my name is Jason Slabotsky. I'm a teacher support specialist from the UTeach computer science team here at the University of Texas at Austin. The UTeach computer science team, we write curriculum for high school CS classes. We have a AP College Board endorsed computer science principles curriculum and a computer science A course. And I'm the teacher support specialist. I facilitate all of our workshops and provide support to all of our teachers throughout the year. So if you would like to get a copy of this slide deck, and I really hope you do, you could take a picture of that QR code over there, or you can go to bit.ly/fusion UTeach. So there's four main things we're going to discuss tonight. First, we're going to talk about the negative impact of ChatGPT on academic integrity. I mean, I'm like you, I'm a teacher. So when I hear that students are allowed to use ChatGPT, my first thing that happens is I'm like, huh, what, why? But then we're going to talk about what the real issues with coding education is. And then maybe start to see that AI is not the terrible, awful thing that we think it is. And that actually it could be really helpful for you as a teacher and for your students. We're going to talk about creating good prompts for AI because AI is just as smart as the person who's asking it the questions. So the better your prompts are, the better your AI is going to work, whether it's doing your teaching tasks or helping your students. And then we're going to talk about the different ways that you can use AI in the classroom. So we have a lot to talk about tonight, so let's just jump right in. So the negative impact of ChatGPT on academic integrity, okay? And I know that naturally as teachers, our first response to ChatGPT is to be combatant, all right? You kids can use it. I'm going to know. I'm going to check it online. They're going to tell me that ChatGPT wrote this for you. I'm going to, change the way I assess the kids. And that's all good. But combative is the problem. Okay. It's great to change the way that you assess students. That's called progress. Okay. That's what we're supposed to do as teachers. All right. But to be combative and try to just stop the kids from using it, well, come on now, just like anything else, whether it's, the 1970s and telling kids they can't smoke cigarettes, all the kids are going to smoke cigarettes. All right. So we don't want to tell them not to use ChatGPT and not to use AI. We want to show them the proper ways of using it. And that's what we're going to talk about. Now, ChatGPT, if you're someone like me who has a CS background, but also a background in teaching students with special needs, ChatGPT can help you meet those IEP goals in no time. Things that used to take you forever to do, coming up with additional sample materials and guidelines and bullet points. Dude, ChatGPT could do that for you so quickly now. So this is a revolutionary thing we're talking about, and we don't want to be combative with it. We want to kind of embrace this AI and see the good that it can do and tell our students how it's not as smart as they think it is. All right, so I started off by just asking ChatGPT, what's the top 10 things that people ask you to do? And when you actually look at the top 10 things, you can see why schools are kind of fretting this, okay? Write an essay on a given topic. Yeah, that's an English teacher's job, right? Generate captions for an image or video, create a to-do list, translate a phrase or sentence into another language, all right? Brainstorm ideas for a project. Summarize a lengthy article. Really writing a witty comeback or joke? People can't just get a collection of dad jokes and keep it in their pockets. All right. Provide information on a specific topic. So when you look at all 10 of these, you could see why academia is just like, oh no, like this is not going to be good. All right. But we're not going to talk about writing essays for English or the other things. We're going to focus on computer science here because that's what we teach. We're computer science teachers. All right. So now it gets back to what can I do in my classroom to properly use AI with my students? Now, we're not going to pretend like ChatGPT is only positive. It does have a lot of negative effects. But like anything else, these negative effects that it's going to have are not insurmountable problems. We can come through and actually help our students overcome these negative things. So these are the top 5 negative impacts of ChatGPT on academic integrity, because that's what we're talking about here. All right, is the integrity of learning. If we truly can't trust that the kids are doing the work, well, then this is all for naught, right? None of this can happen unless we can assume that there is some sort of integrity going on. All the kids can't be cheating. So teachers express concerns about students using ChatGPT to cheat on assignments, obviously. Now, schools, that gets back to the teacher too, and we'll talk about that. You can change the way you assess your students. Schools have networks that can block ChatGPT. Your students should not be allowed to have their cell phones on them in the class. So there's a lot you can do to make sure that when your students sit down to do an exam, they have to do it. Just like in AP Computer Science Principles, the students are going to have to do the written response on exam day, okay? They're going to sit down. They're going to get a piece of paper with their procedure and their list on it, and they're going to be given the questions, and they're going to have to answer them. They're not going to have AI to use. They're not going to have notes to use. And if there's even any code comments on that PPR, that personal project reference sheet, then they don't even get a chance to do it. So, you know, when teachers like kind of give up and say, well, they're going to use it to cheat, it's kind of you being lazy, all right? We have to look in the mirror and say, what can I do differently so that I can stop my students from cheating? Difficulty in detecting the use of AI tools in student work. Sometimes it sticks out. A student just sounds way better in the paper than they do when you're talking to them. But there's enough AI tools online, and I know that you as teachers are learning about them. You know, there's different things. Magic School AI has a lot of built-in things here, but I'm not here to do commercials for other people. I just like ChatGPT because it's the thing to use, right? It's free. You can just access it, and it can help you out. All right. Fear that AI tools undermine the educational process. We're going to show you tonight that AI is going to help the educational process and help us be more productive and engaging as teachers. All right. Some educators believe that ChatGPT encourages laziness and lack of effort. I'm going to show you tonight that that's also not true. It doesn't promote laziness or lack of effort. It can help them get started. And once students get started, they naturally want to do things on their own, okay? If they have the ability to do it, they'll do it. We just have to use AI to give them the ability to do it. And then the concern about the ethical implications of using AI to complete assignments. So I'm throwing them all out there. There's all your negatives, okay? I know it's tough. But once again, this is here. College Board specifically was like, yeah, kids are allowed to use it. I was at a conference 1.5 years ago with all the heads of major corporations, all the College Board administrators, the computer science teachers at colleges, and they all said the same thing, like, you can't stop this, it's coming. But have the students cite that they're using it, and then let's figure out different ways of assessing them. So let's start with, why do students cheat, right? Because we just kind of touched on that in the last few slides. All right, laziness is a major factor, right? If you say to someone, write an essay, it's going to take you an hour. Or let's just talk about what we're talking about, write code. It's going to take you a day. Or ask this AI bot to do it, and it's going to do it in literally 1 minute. All right? So laziness is a real problem here, okay? But there is a fix to it. And you can see for each of these problems, I'm just going to put down a quick fix. All right? Like anything else, you need to motivate your students. All right? If you actually make the project more related to their everyday lives, all right, or give real world examples, they'll be more motivated in order to, you know, to do this sort of work. Back in 2017, when I was teaching CS principles, um, my students wanted to learn how to use Scratch. So I decided that we should tie a real world school problem to learning how to use Scratch. And that was, almost every kid in our school got free or reduced lunch. We didn't know what they were eating for dinner. And we wanted to kind of use Scratch to design a prototype of an app that would kind of let restaurants donate foods or dinners to kids who needed them. And since the school was in Brooklyn, New York, and there's a lot of eateries and bistros, and the kids are all taking the subway, it was like a perfect idea. And like we submitted that idea to the Samsung Software Tomorrow contest, and we were one of the 3 national champions. And my students were motivated to work. And I know this was in a pre-ChatGPT world, but it just goes to show you that if you connect what you're doing to something that's interesting that the kids deal with, they're going to want to do it and they're going to be motivated to do it. Okay? Now, some students cheat because they feel that the assignment is not relevant or valuable. All right. They don't think it's important to them. Okay. So they get frustrated by it. So you have to explain to students why they're doing every single assignment. And you can't just say, because I told you so. That doesn't work. It's not 1950 anymore. All right. You need to explain to students why you want them to do it and what are the benefits by doing it. All right. And one of the benefits by doing your work is that you'll be less reliant on AI in the future to write your code. Right. So these are just things that, I don't want to, say, here's some problems and not give you some solutions for them. I'm aware of the problems. I want to help you. All right. Inability. And this is where I think AI is going to be the most relevant. Okay. It's going to give people with inabilities the ability to do the work. All right. And I'm going to talk about next that there is nothing wrong with blowing up the way that we learn how to code and totally redo it. Because right now it's elitist, right? Think about it. To be a good coder, it's hard. The syntax is hard. You have to kind of be focused. It takes a certain personality to do it. Remember when only those type of people could design websites, right? Remember when the web first came out? Now anyone can design a website, right? You go online, you can just tell it what you want, it spits one out, right? What's the big problem if that happens with writing code too? Isn't that like the dream? You sit down in front of a computer, you say, I want you to write a program that does this, 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 and this for me, and it does it. That is giving people who don't have the ability to code to have a career in coding. So this inability, all right, that students have, and that's why they cheat, we're going to fix that by showing them that, you know what, AI is going to give you the ability to proofread your code, maybe even give you the start to your code, all right, maybe even be able to debug it for you. And that's going to help people who don't have the ability to do this work. All right, and then different priorities, right? Students have a million things going on in their lives. Everything is going on. They have all these different subjects that they're doing homework for. They're playing sports. They're doing cheerleading, right? They're doing gymnastics. They have jobs. All right, they have little brothers and sisters to take care of. All right, they have difficult home lives. I understand everything. So you need to kind of explain why, once again, this is an important thing and where it should fit into their life, right? Like, I know taking care of your little brother is important, but you need to maybe do your work on the subway instead of listening to your headphones because you need to do this work because you're really talented and you have a future in computer science, but you need to just prioritize better. All right. And then the internal pressure that are either from the teachers, which are not right. You shouldn't be pressuring your students, but the parents, especially parents sometimes who work in CS, want their kids to work in CS because they see what a great life that, learning to program in Java or Python gave them. But, that's going to change, right? If coding is this accessible thing through an AI bot, well, then coders are going to have to find something new to do. And we'll talk about that also. All right. Yes, AI is going to take away jobs, but it's going to create a lot too. All right. For every, tech person that's on a team with 10 people who now get condensed down to a team of 5 because AI makes them more efficient, that's going to give a really small business the opportunity to hire a tech person who they never would have been able to hire before because they can hire one person who could do like the job of 5. All right. So yeah, AI is going to kill jobs. It's also going to make jobs. All right. So let's talk now specifically how AI can help. All right. Addressing and allowing students to use AI tools for class assignments can help in the following. All right. Relevance. Okay. We can make this relevant. Coding can become relevant because they can see how coding can help solve everyday issues. Skill upgrade, okay? You're going to see an instant improvement in your skills, in your end product. Not in your skills, but in your end product, right? You might have struggled to create a calculator program using Python. Now you can ask AI to write that for you. And then you can look at the code and you can read it. You can see the code and learn what's going on in the code. And then you can start adjusting the code and learning how the program works. That's a tremendous upgrade to your skills rather than staring at a screen and not understanding why it says coding error line 2. Okay? And laziness will not be cured. All right? Actually, laziness will probably get worse at first with AI. All right? But, you need to show your students that for many of them who truly want their time here to be valuable, these tools will be a huge relief and aid them in their learning if instructors guide them properly how to use them. All right, so some things that teachers are already doing that, I reach out to our teachers here. We have hundreds of teachers using our CSP and CSA curriculum across the country and here in Texas, and the way that they battle ChatGPT, and I keep telling them don't battle it, but, they've done research papers which required sources. So, ChatGPT can write it for you, but, it's going to get back to what I like to call like the 80-20 rule. And that is if AI is doing 80% of the work, but your students are doing 20%, that's the goal. Okay. AI does the bulk of it, but you're still in on the process, 20%. You're iterating it, but you're not just letting AI do it by itself. All right. They want their students to have to take a point of view, take one side or the other, and then write a paper from that point of view. And once again, cite where the text is coming from. The best one that I like for CS teachers is talking to your students to explain the process. Okay. Instead of having the kids do an exam all on the same day, over the course of a week, you call 5 kids up to your desk. They open up their program on your computer screen. You could do one of two things. You could actually, break it, add a couple lines of code, and then say, hey, debug it. Because if they know the program, they'll be able to debug it, but that could be a little pressure inducing. Or just tell them, explain this program to me. All right. And just ask them questions about it. Okay. That, if you do that at the desk, is totally how you just negate students using ChatGPT to write their code and you not knowing about it. And if you're one of our teachers, we actually have all of our curriculum in Codio, because Codio has an AI bot built into it that will only help your students and not tell them the answer. But they also have code playback. They record the students typing the code in the IDE, and the teacher can watch it. So if the students are cutting and pasting it, you'll see it. It just goes blip and it all appears. Whereas if they're typing it, you see it typing on the screen, you see them deleting it, you see them editing it. So, as a UTeach CSP or CSA teacher, there's a lot of stuff in our curriculum that's housed in Codio, which has over 150 assignments in it, with its own built-in IDE and auto grading and assignments, so that we really, if you do our assignments, use the code playback, use the AI in there, and then just talk to your students and question them orally. You could really just negate students trying to cheat using AI, and they'll just fall into line. All right. Have students reflect on the unique course experiences. Okay. Ask them to talk about unique things that happens in class. Okay. Things that only the kids in the room would know about. What's the poster on the wall say? Okay. The other day, everyone started laughing because who said what? Okay. Your teacher's ugliest sweater is which one? Okay. Stuff that only students would know. And if they use these unique experiences, then you know that they're doing the work and it's not completely just done by AI. And the reverse research paper provides students with the conclusion, which that lacks all the references, and ask them to build the reference support, build out a reference list, in-text citations. It's called the reverse research paper. So these are all things that you can be doing in your class to properly model the use of AI so that students will be more apt to use it properly. Okay, so I've already touched on it, but when I first heard that College Board had changed their policy on AI, and there it is, it's right there, okay? For AP CSP, students are permitted to utilize generative AI tools as supplementary resources for understanding coding principles, assisting in code development, and debugging. This responsible use aligns with current guidelines for peer collaboration on developing code. So what College Board said was, students already work with other students, and that's awesome. That's the goal here. What's the difference if they just have another partner who's just super duper smart and knows all the answers? Because here's why. In the end, additionally, students must be prepared to explain their code in detail. So if an AI writes it for them, but they don't take the time to learn what the code does, okay, understand how it works, understand how to break it and fix it, well, then they're not going to get credit for the code that the AI wrote anyway. All right, so yeah, like Wayne Campbell saying up there, when I first heard that College Board was letting the kids use AI tools, I was like, excuse me, a baking powder? But no, actually, after thinking about it, I'm like, just another person in the group, and that's great. All right, because it gives those students, who really aren't strong with coding, a chance to actually continue with some sort of career in coding, right? Because now instead of writing code being the most important thing, it's reading code, which is the most important thing, right? And that's what I kind of stumbled upon this article, and it was in the New York Times, which I never read. I Googled this and found this article, but I think this is the attitude people need to have. It's the end of computer programming as we know it, okay? And I feel fine, right? The world isn't falling, okay? Guess what? Computer programming was the elitist process that was not accessible to anybody except like a small group of highly privileged individuals at really good universities, all right? And then as coding kept going on, like boot camp showed up online and people could learn more about CS on their own. So if you were just determined and wanted to literally sit in front of a screen for 80 hours and learn Java, you could, okay? But it wasn't fun. It was actually really terrible, all right? And what this article is talking about is, yeah, AI is poised. It's on the verge of being democratized, okay? We're about to democratize programming so that it's going to become accessible to a wider audience. Like I said earlier, if anybody can sit down in front of a computer and say, write me a program that does this, 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 and this, guess what? That's going to give really creative people with bad programming skills the opportunity to write awesome creative programs. Because let's be honest, just because you're a good programmer doesn't make you the most creative person in the room. Actually, with all the syntax, probably makes you the most algorithmic, but not creative. So now people from all different fields will be able to pick up basic programming skills and incorporate them into your job. Now, in CSP and CSA, teaching Java, teaching the basics of Python, we're still teaching the basics, okay? I told you we have 150 assignments in each one of our curriculums. Students are still doing the basics, okay? They're going to learn about strings, they're going to learn about procedures, they're going to write lists, all right? Where it might change is instead of giving the kids a coding skill assignment where they have to write the whole program, they can now use AI to write the program with them. And then that's when you as the teacher call them up to the front of the room and ask them to explain the code, how it works, break it, ask them to fix it. And that's how we assess them, okay? So this shift will empower individuals to create custom solutions and automate tasks without those specialized training skills. So while advanced coders will still be essential, the rest of us will benefit from the ability to interact with computers in a more intuitive way. So yeah, this is where we're heading. So it's not bad. It's good, okay? Right? Like I said in the article, it's the end of computer programming as we know it. And I feel fine, man, because as somebody who has this background in CS, but also students with special needs, this is going to give my students with special needs a tremendous opportunity to take AP computer science classes, to just take CS classes and pursue these in college, right? Not possible without AI. So let's continue with our presentation, okay? The issue with computer science education then is we as teachers need to learn how to solve complex problems with the aid of coding co-pilots. And we have to teach this to our students, okay? We have to teach them that, like, as Luke Skywalker is flying around in his X-Wing fighter, R2-D2 is the AI in the back, making sure that, the X-Wing is flying and that, they can detect other planes, other fighters around them, right? TIE fighters, all these Star Wars references. But that's really how I like to think of AI. It's kind of like your own R2-D2. We'll get to that in a second. So this mode of working suggests strong project-focused approach. If you throw more projects at your students to write code together, then and give them a real-world issue to solve, that's what, like in our CSA class and CSP, each unit has a unit project, which is a real-world problem. And in CSA, they're using Java to solve these problems, right? That's really interesting for the kids, all right? So that's one way of doing it. But here's the thing. Writing code is not going to be important. Reading code is going to be important. Debugging code's going to be important. So like doing things like parsing puzzles with students is probably going to be more relevant and helpful for your students now than just asking them to write a program. So in particular, skills like adding to an existing code base, which we rarely teach in entry-level programming, are going to become more important, right? In entry-level programming, you're literally just teaching them the basics, okay? And then they write their program, but it's not like you're really ever giving them, say, hey, write more code on this, write more code on this, write more code on. That's where we're going. That's going to be more of a skill. The AI wrote a calculator program. Now, by looking at the code, how could you adjust it and add a button that will automatically figure out the tip at a restaurant if you put in the amount that the bill was? So the answer as far as just, what you could do in the classroom as far as instructional models and pedagogy is do more project-based learning. Kids work in groups. They have to solve real-world issues. And then you have to make your class more engaging. And that's where blended learning comes in, because it increases student engagement by using a lot of different methods, right? You can flip your classroom, have the students do the assignments outside of the classroom, then discuss them when they come back in. You can have different rotations. You can have lab rotations. So these are the two instructional models that I would recommend using along with AI to engage your students and model the use of AI properly. All right. And since most people who watch this have been in my workshops before, we already know about these two instructional models. So I just included a couple of slides to remind you what is project-based learning, okay, and what are the details of it, and then what is blended learning, and what are the different types of models of blended learning that you can use. All right. Now, the other thing that deals with the UTeach curriculum is I told you earlier that the UTeach curriculum is housed in Codio. We have over 150 assignments. We have auto grading. We have our own IDE. I told you the IDE has code playback. It has built-in paired programming so students can work together from different locations. But the new feature that they added is truly a game changer. It is an AI bot called Codio Coach. But here's what Codio Coach does. It only does 3 things right now on purpose. It summarizes what the student needs to do on the assignment that they're working on. It will explain an error that the students made, and it'll provide a hint on what to do next. Notice it does not say it'll tell them the answer, okay? Codio did research, and these are the top 3 things that students ask their TAs, their professors, their high school teachers when they get stuck, okay? So this is what this program does. So it'll look at an assignment, it'll just summarize what the student needs to do, okay? If they're coding and there's a mistake, it'll tell them you have an error right here. This is what that error is called. Well, I don't know what that is. And then they can click on a button. It tells them, well, this is the error. Here's why it's doing this. Here's some suggestions on how you would fix it, okay? But it won't tell them exactly how to fix it, okay? It'll provide a hint. So where this is such a huge tool, if you use our curriculum in your CS class, CSP or CSA, and we have a cyber course coming out this upcoming year, I used to say in my class all the time, 3 before me. Before you come and ask me a question, ask 3 other kids in the class, which is great, except when you don't have 3 higher level learners in your class, okay? If you get like a very even average class where everyone's at the same learning level, it's hard to find anybody who could be one of those 3 before me people. But now it's changed in the classroom for me. Now I say, before you approach, ask the coach, all right? And that's where I tell them, use Codio Coach. Find out what the assignment is asking you, find out if you've made any mistakes, then ask for a hint, and then do 3 before me. And by doing that, it limits the amount of work that you have to do as a teacher. And this is an example of how AI should be used. It's used for your students in a proper way, but more importantly, man, teachers are being asked to do way too much in the classroom. They're not given enough time. And let's not get into the fact that they're not being paid enough money. So you need to work smarter, more efficiently, and use AI to do that. So now, in order to use AI properly, you need to learn how to write really good prompts for AI. Because I know that people already have started hearing stories how, people are using this chatbots, this AI chatbots, and it's racist or it's, telling it to do unethical things. And the reason that is because the AI is only as smart as the information that's being put into it, but it can only tell you good answers if you ask it good questions. So I wasn't kidding before. We have literally hit the future. I want you to think of ChatGPT as that droid from Star Wars that you always wanted, minus that cool futuristic body. So since I can't believe anybody would say C3PO, let's focus on R2D2 or BB-8, right? Like ChatGPT is your R2D2 without the shell. You ask a question, it tells you answers, it brainstorms with you, it can take information and present it better. These are all things that can help you save time. All right. Luke can't be doing everything. He's got to fly the TIE fighter. R2 can do everything else. So what we need to do is first back up and where did this all come from? Large language models. Well, just a really quick background on this. Large language models is a pretty funny story. It came from social media. Okay. Remember when YouTube was just a place where videos were posted, right? There was no home page. There was no feed. There was no suggestions. If you're old like me, you can remember when Instagram and Facebook really didn't even have feeds, okay? Feeds is the birth of large language models. The technology underpinning large language models was created from social media. You see, YouTube needed to be monetized. Google bought it. They gave someone $1 billion for it. So now what they needed to do was they needed to get all those videos in front of your eyeballs so they could sell ads on it. And what they started to do was they used the same technology that large language models are using to basically tag a video, say what it's about, that when you click on it, it remembers that you like that video and it shows you something similar. And as the technology went on, it got better and better to what we have today, where you could go on YouTube and it knows you. It knows your sport teams. It knows what you like. It gives you suggestions. Same thing with Facebook. Same thing with Instagram. All this feed technology is the same technology underpinning large language models. Because basically what it would do is it would look at a video or something and say, what's the most likely video that person would like? And it would check the tags and it would throw it out there. And then a bunch of scientists came up with an idea that was, what if we use this on words, on letters, on text? What if we use this to predict what would be the most logical next word in a sentence, and then just chose the one with the greatest probability? And the funny thing was, when they first came up with this idea, nobody cared because there was no money to be made. All the computer scientists that dealt with AI, with neural networks, with large language models, nobody wanted to deal with large language models. They were making so much money that they just wanted to focus on social media because that's where the money is. Google was making so much money from their now, commercials on YouTube that these scientists were getting paid whatever they wanted. But they started to realize that this technology can be used for bad. And that's when they started to, recruit scientists to a little group called OpenAI. And the original goal of OpenAI was to have the proper use for this large language model, which was going to be used on text, and that they realized was indistinguishable from human language. Okay? So it's funny how the social media feeds is why we have ChatGPT today. And it's why it happened so quickly. The technology was it was like Napster, right? If you're old like me, you remember Napster. We used to go to Nobody Beats the Wiz or Sam Goody, and we used to buy compact discs for $20 and $19.90, right? And then one day you came home and there was this program on your computer where you could have any song you wanted on your computer digitally, instantly, and then you could put it on your iPod. Change the world, okay? This is what's going on now. It's a technology that's changing the world. All right, so this AI is going to now allow us as teachers to build new work habits. All right. And I know a lot of you are using Magic School AI and other programs out there, but you should be doing the following. And if you're not, start asking ChatGPT to do these things for you. If you're intimidated, at the end, I have some activities for you to do so that you can start to feel more comfortable using ChatGPT. Because here's the secret. If you use our curriculum, just copy and paste our lesson plan into ChatGPT, you could say, hey, make this a flipped classroom model. It'll do it. If you take our content and copy and paste it into ChatGPT and say, give me a list of 10 bullet points so I can give it with a student with special needs to help them out with this assignment, it'll do it. Okay. So these are all the new work habits you're going to use. Automate repetitive tasks for speed and accuracy. Hey, ChatGPT, write an email to this parent saying that their student didn't have the assignment in on time, but if they get it to me by Friday, I'll only take off 10%. It gives you quick access to information. It can assist you in generating ideas, right? I told you, I thought I came up with the best title for this workshop. It made it better. Improves communication and collaboration, efficient time management, helps with grading and feedback, okay? Provides personalized learning for students, all right? And that's what we're gonna do when we talk about IEPs, right? Individualized education plans. Support differentiation, individualized instruction, translate, I teach in New York City and Brooklyn. Our final exams are in 17 different languages. Now I can have ChatGPT change the language for all of my lesson plans and the content. I can give it to the parents at home to help their kids. I can give it to the para or aide in my classroom working with the students with special needs. All right. I can do all of this now quickly. All right. And enhance teacher professional development. Okay. So, how to fit AI into your work routine. At one end of the spectrum, AI can function like a steroid, a short-term superhuman boost by offloading work such as drafting emails, creating social media blasts, okay? Make you more productive as a teacher. In the middle, it's like a high-quality running sneaker. Speeds you up, speeds up your routines and those time-consuming tasks. For teachers, it can mean automating administrative tasks, grading, and lesson planning. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you can truly transform everything you do in AI to make you a better coach, okay? It can make you a better CS teacher by improving your skills, okay? You can get more individualized professional development, data-driven instruction, improve student outcomes. So we're always trying to work. We want to start at one end of the spectrum, get to that middle part, and then eventually work our way down to the other end. And the way to use AI properly is by making the best prompts, okay? Now, a good AI prompt is clear, concise, okay? Now, a better one anticipates the user's needs. And then the best one is gonna be like, you're having a conversation with the AI and you want it to provide multiple things. So a good prompt is, draft an email about our new 3D printer. Better, draft an email introducing our new 3D printer to customers. Okay, whenever I do something for an AI that I'm doing, I always say at the end, for high school science, computer science teachers. Okay, draft this blurb about what I'm talking for tonight's webinar, geared specifically towards high school computer science teachers. Okay, and the best prompt, draft an email detailing our new 3D printers with features launching next week, and then link to the product page. So this is what you need to work on to become the best you when working with AI. And you're going to train your students to also become the best prompt writers that they can. Because the better their prompts, better their code is, the better their program is. So the 5 steps that I have to creating the best prompts is start with the end in mind. Do you want bullet points, an essay, brainstorming session, whatever you want, okay? These large language models mimic human conversation, so try to tell them what you're looking for. Set the stage, okay? Give as many context or relevant details, okay? For me, it might be tell teachers about their computer science principles, create tasks, personalized project reference sheet, which is gonna be due on April 30th. The more details I tell it, the better. Then I say, now write a blurb about this, reminding the computer science high school teachers and make it friendly and balanced, okay? All of those things help with a better prompt. Balanced is key. Okay, friendly, balanced. Okay, define any parameters. I want 6 bullet points. I want 7 bullet points. I want information from only this year. Okay, like I said, tailor the delivery to high school computer science students, to high school computer science teachers, to parents of high school computer science students. And then here's where you got to be determined and not be lazy. Iterate, iterate, iterate that prompt until you get the best result. And that's where I like to talk about the 80-20 rule. If AI is doing 80% of the work, you should be doing 20. That 20% is the iterate, 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 and writing really good prompts. So this page over here is just for you to look at. It's a bunch of initial prompts. What's the potential issue with it? And then the revised prompt. Okay. So rewrite this document to be more concise. Lack of context on which section to prioritize. Rewrite the introduction and conclusion of this document to be more concise while preserving the main points. Boy, that's a good prompt. Okay, so using AI in the classroom. All right, first off, don't be fooled. If you go into the App Store, there's like a gajillion fake open AIs, ChatGPTs. All right, I know a lot of you are using Magic School AI, but that you have to pay for. So I just like to use ChatGPT 3.5. It's free, it's for anybody, and it's smart. Okay, and you can see here that I just give you a sample lesson plan. I ask you to open up ChatGPT, and then I ask you to actually just cut and paste everything in there and see what happens. So, for example, if I copy, rewrite the following lesson plan. Whoops. Sorry. Let me hop out of this real quick. There we go. Rewrite the following lesson plan using the flipped model. I'm going to use flip model here. So I copy that, and then I paste it into my ChatGPT box. Now, here's my first sample lesson plan. And notice, it's a sample lesson plan that deals with a password generator unplugged activity that my students have to do. Okay? This sample lesson plan has to deal with strings. Okay? And then my third sample lesson plan over here also has to deal with cybersecurity. All right, so I have 3 sample lesson plans. So if I choose one, let's see, this one right here on sample lesson 2, it says strings or whatever, and I just copy all the information on this sheet, I can then cut and paste it into ChatGPT, and it'll make it into a flipped classroom assignment. So let me copy it, paste it in here, and then I ask it to do the work. And see, immediately it says lesson plan, flipped classroom instructional model. It provides an objective. It gives me a preparation. It gives me a procedure on what the student should do on their own time asynchronously. Okay. And then it closes it out. And you could keep iterating this if you would like to. Okay. All I have to do is copy everything it just did and say, translate this to Spanish. Okay. And paste it in. And now it does it to Spanish. Now, let's say I want to do it instead and say, redo this for a 35-minute class period. And I would type it in, and I would ask it to do it. All right. And then you can see here, it's actually writing it in Spanish for 35 minutes. So there's a lot of different things you could do with ChatGPT that's going to save you time as a teacher working in the classroom. All right. I have another activity here where I just kind of demoed it, translating the lesson, changing the time of the lesson. This last activity is really important because ChatGPT's, you can't argue what it does for students with special needs or students who have IEPs. IEPs are legal documents. You have to do what's on them. Even if you don't have the time to do it, if a parent was ever litigious and decided to make sure you were doing what you were supposed to be doing, okay, you can get a lot of trouble. So being able to use ChatGPT like I just showed you, take our curriculum, cut and paste it in there and say, make an outline of this information. Make a list of additional support videos that a student could watch using this content, okay? Make up bullet points of the top 6 bullet points of this assignment. These are things that ChatGPT could do instantly to make you more productive and help your students more and make you a better teacher, right? And I don't like to say make you a better teacher. It's not like you're a bad teacher, but this makes you a better teacher because you're going to help others in the classroom, not only students. You're going to share these documents with the paras, with the aides. If you have a substitute one day, you could share it with the parents at home. For students who don't speak English as their first language, sharing assignments in the native language, what people are speaking at home, what the family is speaking with home, is going to be so impactful for the student. So that's what we're talking about there when we talk about different activities. So to wrap things up, rethink the way you do everything. Like I just said, share everything with everyone in the building, students, parents, support staff, your adapted lesson plans, adapted assignments, okay? Use a curriculum like we have in Codio that has code playback, that has smart AI that doesn't tell the answer, that has one place where your students do all their work, that has built-in assessments so that you can control the narrative in your classroom. You can keep kids in one location so they can't go off the reservation and cheat. In our CSP class, we do Scratch in Codio. Kids can't even remix projects. All the work is their own, right? And in addition to all these curriculums, here at UTeach, we do have micro-credentials. If you go to bit.ly/CS-micro-credentials, we offer free micro-credentials on the following topics that you see there. If you're using our curriculum, you're already doing all these things in the classroom, you might as well get recognized for it. All right, and then it's the end of the school year. We're getting ready for our summer PD season. All right, so please, check out the UTeach Summer Professional Development page. All right. We have lots of opportunities for CSP and CSA. And TEA, if you're a Texas teacher, is reimbursing you fully for PD. So that's a great deal. You pay for PD and curriculum, and then they give you back the money for PD. So PD is free. If you already teach CSP, have them pay for PD for CSA, and then send another teacher for CSP PD so you can build that capacity at your school. All right. I want to thank everybody for attending tonight's workshop. If you came late and you would like to get a copy of the slide deck, lots of good information in it, bit.ly/fusion UTeach. And if you want to get in touch with me, that's all the different ways you can get in touch with me. It's been a pleasure talking to everybody tonight. And once again, if you're looking for if you're looking for AP CSP or AP CSA curriculum or cybersecurity curriculum, check out the UTeach computer science team at the University of Texas at Austin. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.